What's so great about The Shining?
The question should be, Rach, what is not so great about The Shining? Okay? And the answer would be nothing.
Who's better to give advice on powerful writing than a dedicated writer who publishes best-selling books almost every year, who was raised in poverty and now makes millions because of his mastery in writing? In this video, I'm gonna talk about Stephen King's road to massive success as a writer. I'm gonna tell you top 10 lessons I learned from his book on writing. I loved the book. It was inspiring, full of wisdom, straight to the point, and full of valuable and actionable lessons. This book is an absolute 5 stars out of 5 for me. So let's get into it. Number 1, do not try to improve your vocabulary. So when I started this YouTube channel and when I started writing scripts for this YouTube channel, let's say I would write a sentence that had the word beautiful in it. I would go to the dictionary to find a sophisticated synonym for it to replace, because I was afraid that if I didn't use big words, people might have not taken my content seriously. Stephen King states that most of beginner writers do that. Stephen King suggests using the first word that comes to your mind. Now my process has more flow. I'm more comfortable and I write more. To make your vocabulary expand, we go to the next lesson. Your vocabulary improves as you read more. His advice is to read a lot and write a lot. Actually, I was on the subreddit that is for Stephen King, and I saw this picture of him reading a book while on the break of a game. And if you're as nosy as me, I read the comments and he was reading the book Beloved by Toni Morrison. In his early days, Stephen King worked as a teacher and he also washed hospital sheets in a laundrette while his wife did the second shift at Dunkin' Donuts. He used to write after work or during the lunch hour, so money was a problem in the family. Then he writes Carrie. One day he gets a call from the publisher and he finds out that Carrie has become a bestseller. It made $400,000 for the publisher and King. He gets the 50%. So where did he write Carrie? The 400K baby. Stephen King wrote Carrie and Salem's Lot in the laundry room of a rented trailer. He believes the writing room should be a humble place, nothing fancy. When he became rich, he bought this fancy desk that he always dreamed of, put it in the center of his living room or something, and every time he was behind that desk, he was high on coke. So after a while, he changed this approach. He believes in terms of the writing room's furniture, less is more. Just a room with a desk and closed curtains and a closed door is enough. It means that here and now, this environment tells you and others you mean business. Now let's talk about the work schedule. Stephen King states that it's different from author to author. He himself writes in the morning, and during the evening and night he reads books and spends time with his family. He writes almost 2,000 words a day. It's about 10 pages. And it's his schedule every day, even Christmas, even his birthday. So I think that'll be 4 to 6 hours a day, and it's in sync with the Deep Work book by Carl Newport. I think he also states that 4 hours of deep work, creative work, is normal for someone who is a professional. Stephen King's suggestion for beginners is to start with 1,000 words a day, which I disagree. And I know some books that back me up. Atomic Habits by James Clear, Scattered but Successful, and also How to Be an Imperfectionist by Stephen Guise. All these books suggest starting really small if you're a beginner. I have a problem with task initiation, and if you're like me, committing to writing 1,000 words a day is gonna be overwhelming. So my suggestion is start really small so that you won't get overwhelmed, and find your own routine in terms of how many words a day you're comfortable with to write. I don't remember if it was Stephen Guise or Stefan Guise. Anyway, he had the goal of writing 50 words a day, and he did finish his book, so his approach was also effective. But yes, do find a number, because having a deadline and having a measurable goal really helps you to kind of initiate the task. Okay, so let's move to the next lesson. which is the top lesson for me, my favorite one. So let's say we have set the writing room, it's ready for us, and we have a schedule, and we're ready to write. What to write? Exactly. Stephen King answers, whatever you want, as long as you tell the truth. So whenever I'm in doubt about what to write, I follow his advice. Whatever you want, as long as you tell the truth. Also, it's better to start with the genre you enjoy and mix it with something that you really know about in real life. Steve Jobs believed that creativity is connecting the dots that already exist. They exist either in your life or in your mind. If you want to know more about it, you can read the book Still Like an Artist. It's a great book. So we have millions of dots, and connecting them gives us countless possibilities. Let's say you're a plumber. This is a dot. And you're into science fiction, which is another dot. Stephen King believes that people are really into work, so people would enjoy knowing what a plumber exactly does. So what you can write is writing about a plumber who's in another planet or on a spaceship, just having a journey, having an adventure, moving from a planet to a planet. Maybe Dune kind of thing. The next lesson is about his approach to plot. Think of your story as a paleontologist. You don't have to know the ending of your story from the beginning. Let's say you're on a desert. You find a fossil that's mostly covered by soil and it's like stuck into a rock and you can't get it out easily. First, you use big tools to shovel the sand off the fossil so you can see it better. After that, you need to use delicate instruments to carefully excavate the fossil so that you don't harm it. You don't rush into it. As for the plot, you don't have to rush into it and know the ending from the beginning. When Stephen King writes a story, he doesn't know the ending until he reaches that point. So first, locate the fossil, which is your idea of the story or your script. Then careful excavation leads you to the ending. But sometimes the problem is the fossil doesn't get out. It's still stuck in the rock. You've reached a part of your story that you don't know where it should go. You don't know how you should end it. This strange situation and feeling, my friend, is good old writer's block. It happens to everybody. The Stand is Stephen King's favorite book, written by himself, and also most of his fans' favorite book. It's about 1,200 pages, and you'd be surprised to know that after writing 500 pages of it, he didn't know how to continue and he didn't know how to finish it. He even thought of not working on it anymore and starting a new project, a new book, a new idea. But as we know, he did finish The Stand. So how did he get out of the writer's block? He would go on long walks. I think in the woods, I don't remember it exactly. He would bring some books and magazines, but he would rarely read them. He would just look at the old trees most of the time. He spent some weeks like that until he got some new ideas on how to finish the book. And that book became one of the most successful books ever. Boredom is the mother of creativity. When facing the writer's block, let your mind wander, don't rush into it, and trust yourself. Maybe take some long walks for weeks. But there's something that you shouldn't do, and it is the next lesson. When you're in the middle of a writing project and you don't know how to keep on, do not put it aside and do not start something new, hoping that you'll come back to it some other time. You're not gonna do that because the passion of writing that project will die over time. You're not gonna be excited enough to go back to it. So don't make a big gap between your writing sessions for a project. You know, before starting this YouTube channel, I wrote some YouTube scripts, and one of them was about a book, My Dark Vanessa. I loved the book. It's one of the best fiction books I've ever read. I kind of put it aside and I moved on to some other video ideas and some other things that happened in my life. And I never went back to it, despite the fact that I loved to go back to it. If you're interested in the book, I'd be glad to make the video about it eventually. Let me know in the comments. In addition to Stephen King, also Mark Twain talks about this concept in his autobiography. He believes you've got to write your idea the moment you come up with it and it's still fresh and exciting. Okay, lesson number 9. Don't wait for others' permission to confirm yourself that you're a writer. Stephen King discusses how interacting with other writers and aspiring writers helps you to be more confident on your journey, because in that kind of environment, the desire to write is taken seriously. It's normal to spend hours on writing daily and there's no Uncle Jimmy telling you that you're wasting your time. But still, do you need someone to label what you do daily as normal and okay? As Stephen King puts it, do you need someone giving you a badge with the word writer on it to confirm yourself that you're a writer? Now I dramatically leave the answer for yourself, and I move on to the last lesson. So one day, Stephen King has an accident. A car hits him while he's walking. He stays at a hospital for days. He has so much pain. Then he gets discharged from the hospital, goes back home, his back, his legs, and his hips hurting. One afternoon, he starts writing. No miracle happens except for the usual miracle. The world gets faster. His hip, leg, and back still hurt, but those hurts seem a little further away now. He starts to get on top of them. There's no sense of exhilaration, but there's a sense of accomplishment that's almost as good. The scariest moment is always just before you start. After that, things only get better. Then in some days, the pain subsides and exhilaration and joy start. As Stephen King states, it's like lifting off an airplane. You're on the ground, on the ground, on the ground. Then you're up, riding on a magical cushion of air. The scariest moment was just before he started. After that, things only got better.